Welcome back to the 25 days of Whiskey Christmas. We've reached it, folks. The 25 days of Whiskey Christmas is now old enough to buy its own whiskey. That's right, we're on day 21. Today's bottle for day 21, December 21, 2023, of the 25 days of Whiskey Christmas is Maker's Mark number 46, French Oaked. What's all that stuff mean? Maker's Mark has had the same recipe, the same charring, the same aging process since 1958. In 2010, the son of the two owners, went to mom and dad and said, "Hey, I have a new idea. I have a new recipe, and I have a thing that I want to do." His name was Bill Samuel. And in fact, if you'll notice back on the bottle, it says Bill's Recipe. He said, "I want to try something. I want to try finishing with other wood in there." He still wanted to do oak. And so what he came up with is after the full aging process, nothing changes, goes through the full aging process. They then empty the barrels and add staves of wood. A stave of wood is literally just about 3 inches wide. I think it's about 2 feet long, maybe 30 inches long. And there are 2 or 3 different kinds of woods and 4 or 5 different kinds of charring or searing. In this case, he went with French oak. French oak, I have the book from Maker's Mark here. French oak, the difference between French oak, and other oak forests is primarily associated with grain tightness. This in turn is influenced by soil moisture retention, available soil nutrients, and the straightness of the tree. So you got much tighter grains. I'm going to show you what I mean by he put staves in the bottle. It's going to be like right here. So after the aging process, as I said, he empties the barrels and he adds these staves. And then he pours the bourbon right back into the barrel and then ages for an additional amount of time. No one really knows how much it is, but it is rumored to be between 2 and 6 months. And they test it once a week. They taste a little bit and like to see where they're at. And if it might need a little bit more, they do that. But Maker's Mark is known for having a very special aging room. Besides rickhouses, they have it's actually a cave. It's a limestone cave. This is going to be an interactive video if you hadn't noticed. I'm going to put those pictures, where's my finger? I put those pictures right there. This aging process with these French oak staves has gone through a bunch of different iterations since 2010. At one point, they changed the bottle shape even. They printed just on the bottle instead of a paper label. It birthed some new things, one of which is called the Private Select. And Private Select is literally like an NBA team or an NFL team. When they win their national championship, they go to Maker's Mark and they choose different variations. They try different variations of these 5 different versions of seared or charred oak staves until they find a recipe that they really like, and then they get to make their own. I'm going to put a picture right here. That picture is the wall as of 2017 of all the Private Select barrels they've done. What they did is after they would barrel these and save them, they'd put them in bottles and give them to the teams or whoever paid for this. They retained 2 bottles of each one. And so that photo you just saw is my friend Wes standing in front of the wall of the stuff that they saved. Really a fascinating thing. More recently, if you know Maker's Mark, they've also done a thing where they have done, it's called wood finishing. They just released their final wood finishing, I think, of all time. I think they're done with that series just a few months ago. So it's a really fascinating process, but it's become a little, you hear about it a lot. A lot of different distilleries are doing wood finishing or stave finishing now, but Maker's Mark was the original. And so we're going to try it today. I've rambled on long enough. Let's drink some whiskey. Start with the nose. If you remember, or if you know Maker's Mark, you know that they have a wheated recipe. What that means is, where the rye is in most bourbon recipes, they take the rye out and do wheat instead. It often creates, instead of spice, it creates sweetness. There is a restaurant around here. I won't name them, they're not sponsoring this video, so. But it's a Dutch Amish inspired restaurant, we'll say that. They have a cinnamon raisin toast that is amazing. I've kind of outgrown some of the rest of their food, but I will eat that cinnamon raisin toast every day if it was the only bread left on earth and not get tired of it. This smells like that toast. Toasted, some real butter on it. Whew. You also kind of smell the oak, though. I don't think you can't not smell the oak or even taste it. When you are very particular and you literally are adding twice the oak to the surface area of the whiskey while it's aging, you're going to get a little bit more oak in the nose and in the taste. And so there's some oak there, but there's also, I used the word quintessential yesterday. There's some vanilla and there's some caramel, which you would kind of expect anyway, especially in a sweeter wheated recipe bourbon. But yeah, holy cow, that cinnamon raisin toast. That smells fantastic. Now I want cinnamon raisin toast. Okay. I've had some really good smelling bottles lately. Let's go in for the taste. It's funny that toast kind of carries through, but kind of like you left it in the toaster too long, which makes sense. Again, we have not only the char of the barrel, which is completely normal. We also have those infrared seared 10 French oak staves that were put in this after it was done aging. So it's not surprising to get a little bit of this, but it still carries over that cinnamon raisin toast, but it literally feels like it's right on the edge of being burnt. Not offensive. It's not like charcoal, but it is a little more done than you might like. There's also, it lingers. I'm still tasting this. This is interesting. It also tastes like syrup. Not like maple syrup, but maybe like fake syrup, like Log Cabin. Mrs. Butterworth. Is Mrs. Butterworth still a thing? It's interesting. It has also kind of coating the tongue black tea, like regular old black tea, like you'd make a pot of tea. It's kind of sitting across the whole thing. So it'd be like the finish. But yeah, absolutely that toast, that cinnamon raisin toast, very specific toast. The taste is a little bit more toasted. That syrup is in there. This is very sweet because of the wheated. Let's read about it. Maker's Mark, number 46, French Oak. French Oaked. This is a straight bourbon distilled and bottled by Maker's Mark, which is owned by Beam Suntory. Coming in at this is still coating my mouth. Coming in at 94 proof. There's no age statement, but it's reported to be about 6 years old. The mash bill is 70% corn, 16% wheat, and 14% malted barley. MSRP right at $40. I think it's $39.99 something. That's another thing to mention. In all the iterations of this, they've changed the name to just 46, just Maker's 46, Maker's Mark 46, Maker's Mark number 46 French oaked, and all those names, changing the bottle size, all that stuff. They have never raised the price of this bottle. Every time you change something, it gives you the opportunity to change a price. Kudos to Maker's Mark for sticking with this price. I bought this for myself for my birthday last year. I think y'all know how much I drink. This might not seem like a lot in a whole year and a half, but I enjoy this. I enjoy this myself. And so I'm going to jump right to the rating. This could be something I drink every day. The proof is lower at 94. It is drinkable. It's got a lot going on the nose as well as the palate. The finish is not offensive. It lingers well. This is a really good bourbon, and I really enjoy this. This is firmly and strongly in the this could be a daily drinker. And so happy to share it with you on day 21. And tomorrow is one of the greatest smelling bourbons, one of the greatest noses of any bourbons that I've ever stuck my schnoz in. So come back tomorrow and see us. If you have ever tried this or any of the other Maker's Marks, I would love to see some conversation around this. Maker's Mark is a fascinating brand. It's an old brand. It's a respected brand. I really enjoy it. So leave a comment, share a little bit. Let's talk about it. We'll see you tomorrow.